Greetings. Greetings. This is Griff Ruby with the next segment of the Isaac Asimov short stories. This next one is contained in Thrilling Wonder Stories. No, it does not have his name anywhere on the cover. Interestingly enough, I discovered that even the artwork that is on the cover is not from any of the stories listed on the cover. But from a different story, not much relevance here, I just thought I'd point this thing out. A different story called The Molecule Monsters. Notice the similarity in the drawings. But at any rate, we are interested, of course, in Isaac Asimov's appearance, which, of course, he is listed in the table of content because he does have a story here, and it's called The Hazing. So it's there on page 89. The blurb here reads as follows: Arcturus University men run into galactic interference. Okay, well, so this is a hazing like what you get, say, at a high school or a college or fraternity or something, where you kind of put somebody who wants to join your group, your class, your club, your fraternity, something, through some sort of series of adventures designed to see who's really committed to joining versus who just think it might be nice, but one little bit of intimidation and boom, they're gone. So they have this thing called hazing, and that's exactly what it is. And we have a little drawing here, one piece of artwork. We'll get more into what that is a drawing of. So let's just put this into context. This is actually a sequel to his second story published in Astounding Science Fiction, Homo Sol. And it's set in the same universe, so you've got all these same different kinds of alien beings who at this point have just a few years previously welcomed the earthmen to their Galactic Federation. So they've got these 10 freshmen for Arcturus University in Arcturus, the star way out, whatever, and they got these 10 freshmen who they are going to put through a hazing. It's just these 3 alien beings. One of them is Myron Tubal. Another one is Bill Stefan. And then there'll be one more, kind of a wimpy little guy. He's also part of the thing. Rai Foras. Okay. And they decide to, really early one morning, kidnap these freshmen for the college and dump them on this planet that, strictly speaking, the Galactic Federation, they haven't made contact yet, so they're supposed to stay completely hands-off. But these people don't mind bending the rules a little bit. I guess they're hoping it'll just go undetected. I don't know. Maybe it does. Whatever. So all of that being what it is, they're kidnapped, they're brought there, and then they fly off. They even have, and they leave a couple of these with these 10 Earth people, along with fire and lots of wood to burn, in the middle of a clearing in the dark forest, with a village of whatever natives live there, not too far off. And natives, we're really talking natives in a very primitive sense, adorned with all kinds of feathers and very primitive customs. It's kind of a stereotype mishmash of what various exotic jungle tribes might have been thought of as being kind of like in circa 1941 when this story was written, which actually is just a couple stories before he would write his awesomely great Nightfall. But it took till this, quite a number of published stories later, before it would finally see print. In fact, it is in Thrilling Wonder Stories because he couldn't sell it to Astounding. He couldn't sell it to Astonishing or Super Science Stories. He couldn't sell it to Amazing. He just kept kind of going down until finally Thrilling Wonder Stories, with a revision of some sort, finally said, okay, we'll take it. So they did, and it's the way it sees print, which is just as well. It's just kind of neat. It's nice to see what the story is. And there's a few interesting things. They had neuronic whips. This is another bit of technology. So let's think about some of these things that happened in that existed in the Asimov universe. From the earliest explorations of the solar system, you've got this Martian water called Jabra water. You've got these weird tobacco-like leaves on Ganymede called Charon leaves. You've got little tiny portable light bulbs that glow really brightly, presumably by some atomic power, called atomo bulbs with a pearly light. And I think there was something else that was atomo, but anyway, I forget that. There were these tonite, T-O-N-I-T-E, guns of various sizes, from handheld to giant guns you could mount on the ground or a battleship, that basically seemed to be some kind of blaster. And now we are seeing, apparently for the first time, something known as a neuronic whip, which is something that inflicts pain without doing actual physiological damage. So, or knock somebody else, give or take the setting or the story, whatever. But basically, that's what it is. And first, a neuronic whip was used to threaten each of the 10 freshman students into boarding the spacecraft in the middle of the night. And then later on, when they're deposited on this planet, a couple of those are handed to them, and the 3 pranksters take off with the idea they'll come back in a day or two to see how the Earthmen survived. Well, they have some adventures of their own, and they get zapped off into space. A meteorite bounces around on their thing and messes with the equipment and causes the ship to fly a whole ways off course, and they gotta fix it, and they gotta reverse course, come all the way back to the planet, which takes about 10 days, and they're worried, oh man, those Earth people are probably gone, but we better look, just in case, maybe some of them have survived, we have to look. And I hope we don't get caught here. We can't call for help. Well, the radio's destroyed anyway, so that gives me an excuse for not explaining where they were. So they land on this planet, and kind of like on a hillside, and they're coming down the hill towards the village, and all of a sudden the trees come alive with all these local natives. And this is the scene shown here. So this guy here would be Tubal, because he's really big and powerful, physically speaking, and really able to give these natives a real run for their money. The other two here, Ree and Ben, they were pretty much captured right away. So, and here's some of these natives. There's a bunch of them there, obviously having come out of the woods and capturing them. And so the caption here: the trees came alive as a wave of natives dropped noiselessly from the overhanging branches. Oh, there's a publisher's blurb on this page I forgot to read. 3 Arcturus University men run into galactic interference when they produce the wrong play. So the script kind of went astray here. So they come down, and what are they going to do? And then finally it turns out that among the natives are our 10 Earthmen, all alive. In fact, what they've done is that they've managed not only to survive, but to sell themselves to the natives as some sort of gods. And so they've got the natives kind of doing their beck and call, although that may be weakened a bit since, unfortunately, the chief of the tribe, his wife, got sick, and they couldn't heal her. So maybe these gods aren't so powerful after all, but they're still a little bit afraid of them. Unfortunately, Tubal has a sort of a heat ray thing that they use to set a few huts on fire to just kind of show we can do some serious destruction. We mean business, and we'll do this to you. Actually, it's just drain their power, but they don't have to tell them that. Which reminds me of the atomic bomb. We hit the Japanese with 2 atomic bombs during World War II. And what they didn't realize is we didn't have any more. It would have taken a few, at least months, before we could assemble some more to use them. But just after a mere 2 of them, the Japanese are, I give up, I give up. Don't do any more, please. This is way beyond anything we could even think of. Which, horrible as it was, it may well have saved the Japanese as a culture, since it's terrible to think of the loss of innocent life. But on the other hand, the Japanese, with their absolute devotion to Hirohito, would have probably been willing to fight to the last man, woman, and child, and end up all having to be annihilated, which would have been a real tragedy, an even bigger tragedy than the bomb. So it's sometimes thought. I don't know. It's a rationale. Does it fit? I don't know. But at any rate, it was a threat that actually was hollow. This little heat ray had just enough power to set 3 huts on fire, and then he aims it, or maybe 4, and then he tries another, and it doesn't seem to work, so he just quickly points it at the chief's head. You want me to set you on fire? And they said, okay, we'll let you take these 3 characters. And they'd actually told the tribe to expect these characters as, I don't know, some sort of demons to be captured and held, and so forth. So they end up, and presumably also sacrificed. But then it's like, well, no, we'll just take them back with us, on our ship, and thank you for helping us. And they leave. And that's pretty much the story. So what ended up happening was the ones being hazed ended up hazing the captors who were trying to haze them. So that's kind of a nice turnaround. But one can see, well, it's definitely not one of his more inspired stories. So it's mildly fun. I don't think it's quite as fun as Victory Unintentional, though, but it kind of has some of the same sort of interest to it in a way. Humans, in a way, kind of do get to perform well. Did have one other thing, though, that I think is worth pointing out, and I'd like to bring this up. It's kind of like a pointer towards the psychohistory. It's a beautiful little quote here. Let's see here. All right, these Earthmen were kind of strange. And he says, well, they look all right to me, said Jubal. Well, I'm not talking about them from the physical standpoint, said the Danubian disgustedly. It's their mental aspect of the case. Psychology, that's the stuff. Faras was going to be a psychologist someday. Oh, that. Well, what's wrong with it? Their mob psychology as a race is all wrong, babbled Faras. Instead of becoming less emotional with numbers, as is the case with every other type of humanoid known, or at least everyone that's advanced enough to join the Galactic Federation, they become more emotional. In groups, these Earthmen riot, panic, go crazy. The more there are, the worse it is. So help me, we even invented a new mathematical notation to handle the problem. Look! He had his pocket pad and stylus out in one rapid motion. But Tubal's hand clamped down upon them before the stylus so much as made a mark. Tubal said, whoa, I've got a walloping Lulu of an idea. Well, we're not going to look at any of this mathematics, which is just as well, because what would it have actually looked like? He'd have to explain that if there hadn't been Tubal's little interruption. But it's kind of an interesting piece of psychohistory. But that's really kind of something to see, another bit of the Asimov motif there, or Asimov set of different, not just technology, maybe even psychohistory is a kind of technology, or psychohistoric type equations. So it's not an altogether uninteresting story. It's a fun little read, but it's not, again, we're not talking great literature. There are reasons it had to find its way all the way down to thrilling wonder stories. I guess if that failed, they could have tried their sister magazine, Startling Stories, which he had one other story with. I think it was that Christmas in Ganymede. Or failing even that, it turns out I just discovered that the publisher had even a third publication called Captain Future. Isaac Asimov never got any stories in that, and I don't think he was ever interested. So, at any rate, it didn't have to get that far down. Anyway, that's what we have, and the story, of course, got gathered, as far as I can tell, without a single typographical difference, other than the elimination of publisher's blurbs on the front page and the first page and the table of contents, and of course that nice little piece of artwork. The text seems to be identical as far as I can tell. So there it is, and it's kind of neat. All right, thanks for watching.